KMBC 9 News starts with First Alert Weather.
A powerful tornado carves a path of destruction across Kansas.
Yeah, it's going through Linwood right now, Brian, and you can see the multitude of power flashes here.
From Lawrence to Bonner Springs, homes left in ruin.
Well, I'm feeling pretty sad right now. I don't have a home right now to go to right now.
Debris from the storm thrown as far as Smithville, even shutting down the Kansas City airport.
I've been on tornadoes before, but not like this. You know, I've never been inside of one, just watching and all that.
The storm reforming in Clay County, Missouri, causing even more destruction. This morning, help is on the way to the areas hit the hardest. We have team coverage as Kansas and Missouri pick up the pieces.
And this morning, we are waking up to the aftermath of a violent storm. I'm Cody Holyoke.
Good morning to you. I'm Donna Pittman. We want to start by giving you a look at the path carved by last night's severe weather. Now, take a look at your screen. First, it took aim at Lawrence, then it moved on toward Linwood. The tornado lifted just as it entered the Kansas City metro, but the damage isn't limited to the Kansas side. That same cell dropped another tornado near Mosby and Excelsior Springs, Missouri. News Chopper 9's Johnny Rollins was keeping an eye on these storms, of course, from the sky. And look at this, just capture this incredible video as the storm approached. This is when it's heading toward Lawrence. I still can't get over these images.
No, they're really haunting, and you think, oh, that's a rain shaft. Well, this tornado was entirely wrapped in rain, so it's in the middle of that mass. Just pushed through the landscape. It was most likely at least a mile wide, Katie is telling us. The majority of the damage happened near Lawrence, just south of town, close to 59 Highway. This morning, we're hearing that 12 people are hurt. Thankfully, though, no deaths have been reported from this storm. There is, though, as you can see on your screen, extensive damage to homes, livelihood, trees. Thousands of people are without power right now. And as the sun starts to rise, we're getting a much clearer picture of just how much damage those storms dealt.
And we do have team coverage this morning all across the area. We want to start right now in Linwood, Kansas with KMBC 9's Matt Evans. Matt.
Complete devastation here. Free State Growers, a very large greenhouse, one of the largest greenhouses in our area, 15,000 square feet. I'll step out of the way and you can see it is leveled. This is just on the other side of K32 from the town of Linwood, Kansas, where we have been reporting all morning long, and it is amazing that we can report. We have talked to Leavenworth County Sheriff's deputies all morning long, getting updates from them. They tell us minor injuries reported here in Leavenworth County, and they believe this morning that everyone is accounted for. No active search and rescue operations. We've said it multiple times this morning, but it bears repeating when you have a large and destructive tornado like this one, that we believe everyone has escaped with minor injuries, at least here in Linwood, here in Leavenworth County, Kansas, which again, that's amazing news. That means everyone got to their tornado safe places in plenty of time. We had a lot of warning about this storm. Of course, we saw it. It kept the Kansas City Metro on their toes pretty much all night long. And of course, you can see why with this powerful, destructive tornado that has leveled a 15,000 square foot greenhouse. Free State Growers here in Linwood, Kansas. This also lasted so long and shot debris so high, tens of thousands of feet into the air. Planters and flower pots from this greenhouse found at KCI Airport, also found in Smithville, Missouri, up to 50 miles away from Linwood, Kansas. So that is a testament to how powerful this storm was, how destructive this storm was, and how long this storm lasted. Live in Linwood this morning, Matt Evans, KMBC 9 News.
Well, and Matt, it's interesting that you just said that. Okay, so Matt's in Linwood, some 40 miles away. Matt was talking about things from that greenhouse ending up at KCI. Well, here are pictures, okay, proof. This is from KCI's Twitter account. Wall panels and other objects were also spotted on the runways. Okay, that did shut down operations at the airport. There were also, this was about for 4 hours they shut down operations. Now the airport reopened shortly after midnight. Fly KCI, of course, that's the website we tell you to check all the time. Fly KCI is down this morning, so make sure that you check with your actual airline before you head to the airport.
Lenexa-based Heart to Heart International has already sent 2 teams to Kansas to see what the needs will be for people affected by the storms. We know volunteers will bring the group's mobile medical unit to the Linwood area to just provide medical care as well as water and hygiene kits to the people who need them. They'll also bring some generators so that people can charge their phones. One of the features we were talking about with Facebook is you can mark yourself safe, but if you're not in that Lawrence area.
Right.
You don't have that luxury, so you might have to call, and you should call your family and friends. Just let them know you're okay.
Well, and speaking of Lawrence being sort of the epicenter, or at least what Facebook is seeing as the Lawrence storm, it is one of the hardest areas hit. This is a system that started south of Lawrence.
That's right. Let's go to KMBC 9's Martin Augustine live on the ground in Lawrence to show us a closer look at this damage. Martin, the sun is up. What are you seeing?
Well, we're right in the path of where this tornado would have come. Take a look at this home back here. The heavy, heavy damage here. The folks who lived in this home would have had a front row seat to something they did not want to see. The tornado would have barreled right over the top of them, coming from the south and a little bit to the west. We're going to pan our camera around and show you the damage that runs right along here, and it shows the path of the tornado off into that valley. You see trees that are twisted, and there's a home a few hundred yards off to the southeast there, suffering heavy damage there too. As we continue to bring our camera around, you will see more debris in that pasture area, and then we will look across 1100 Road into a wooded area, and you see trees in there twisted and tangled, all the hallmarks of a tornado. This tornado running right up through here, like we said, heavily damaging, if not destroying, many homes along the way. Reporting live south of Lawrence, Martin Augustine, KMBC 9 News.
Wow, Martin, thank you for the update. We know that power lines are down across Douglas and Leavenworth counties.
Now, we've seen crews out overnight working to get the lights back on. Rob Hughes is tracking their progress this morning. Rob?
And Cody and Donna, they are making progress now is the good news. There are about 50 outages, just under 50 active outages in the affected areas. I do want to show you the map right now as we take a look together. You see all those dark shaded areas. Of course, those are the affected areas. And then you see the circles there with those numbers. Those are the number of outages. The multiple colors are multiple outages. But just under 4,000 people don't have power right now. And that's good news because it's down from just under 5,000 we were tracking just 2 hours ago. The vast majority of these outages are in the Lawrence area surrounding KU. Now, there's also outages in the Pleasant Grove, Linwood, and Bonner Springs areas as well. Westar is reporting longer than normal restoration times in those areas, but of course they are working as fast as possible.
And we know they are, Rob. Thank you. The tornado did lift up, avoided hitting the metro directly, but after it crossed the state line, the storm cell gained strength once again, and another tornado touched down on the Missouri side. So this was the view last night near Kearney. Wow, as the storm moved through.
And it certainly wasn't going to stop anytime soon after that. That storm cell kept moving east, forming another tornado, taking aim at the Clay County area.
And that's where we find KMBC 9's Emily Welch this morning. Emily, what are you seeing?
We're seeing massive destruction here, everything from trees to pieces of homes thrown around. We're on Washington School Road right now, and there's a car coming, so we want to be careful. But you can see those big pieces of metal there. We've found where those came from. It appears to be off the roof of some sort of big outbuilding that's behind this home. You see the house, it's just some shingles missing from the roof largely unscathed. But then behind it is where you see that roof was just sheared off and thrown over here near the road. So that's just part of the destruction, part of the damage. We're going to turn around over here and show you what else we've been looking at this morning, because we have more pieces. I think that might still be pieces of that same roof. It's hard to tell where these pieces are coming from, but then if we go back, that is the home that was hardest hit here on Washington School Road. It's off of State Route 92, and you can see, I mean, this house just got pummeled, a direct hit by the storm. The bricks knocked down. You can see the chimney still standing there, but the rooms just totally exposed. And I talked to a young man who said this was his childhood home. He was here earlier this morning. His parents were inside that house as the tornado hit. They were hunkered down in the basement in a closet, and amazingly stayed safe. They're staying with family now, but this is just an example. I mean, you see the debris scattered all over the lawn here, just an example of the destruction that these tornadoes did here last night. And again, you just see some pieces here. I mean, there's a purse over here in some of these big tree branches that came down, personal belongings, Christmas decorations we've seen in the yard. I mean, it really is just unbelievable to think what happened here. But again, the good news in all of this, as we keep reiterating, is that everyone was okay. They did get that first alert. They knew to take shelter, and that saved lives. Reporting live in Excelsior Springs, Emily Welch, KMBC 9 News.
Oh, Emily, it did save lives, and how grateful are we all for that. But you look at those things, you know, she pointed out a purse and the personal effect. We hear so often from people saying they are glad they have their life, right? Mm-hmm. Which, of course, we know But you got to feel for them with so much history in these homes.
There is a real loss to that.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, and one that will not be forgotten by anybody,
Right.
anywhere soon. And you want to help everybody, so remember that there will be a way forward for you to help, but the way not to help is to go there right now. They do not want you there now. They need first responders and those that are trained to help in the search and recovery. And then once they get to the cleanup, there will be a way, there will be an all call for your help with that. Right now we're looking at some visibility reduced in Kansas City, but it's not horrible. There's not a dense fog advisory, but there is some fog this morning. Otherwise, we are looking at a partly to mostly cloudy sky right now. Your forecast today, the fog will be lifting or dissipating. We'll have a partly cloudy sky this afternoon. And then after 4, we will be tracking some thunderstorms. These are going to occur in our southern parts of our viewing area down on the Missouri side primarily. The risk for tornadoes is low, not zero, but it's low, more likely a damaging wind or a hail event. And this is the area all the way from Lee Summit over to Sedalia, a varying range of risk. Once again, here's the swath that our supercell took last night. I'm joined now with Chief Meteorologist Brian Busby. Brian, I think we're going to come up when they have the official survey of possibly 3 tornadoes that we were tracking last night.
Could be, and you know, out here in Linwood, Kansas, they had a good 20 minutes before they had to go to their area where the tornado arrived. But as you know, we were tracking it last night near Osage County, then moving right up south of Lawrence, and then eventually here. And you know, Katie, it's a little different. When you're in the Weather Center, you see the couplets, you see the science, but it's only when you're out here that you actually see what that really meant. And I'm looking around the neighborhood, and it is just unbelievable to see some positions or some portions of houses no longer there. We still hear the alarm going off, and this one that's directly behind me. Hard to believe that there's probably a family in there trying to sit down for dinner, and now only 2 of the walls are still standing, the interior totally gone. And just look at all the trees that have been snapped like twigs. And just down this street alone, you can definitely tell there is massive destruction here. So I would guess every bit of at least an EF3, just looking at the damage here. And it does go down at least another mile in this direction. And they are continuing to, obviously, folks coming through here, not necessarily sightseers, but I think some of the residents here are trying to look and see and start trying to pick up the pieces. And it is literally that, just pieces of their life that has just been strewn about thanks to that tornado that didn't last for very long in one location, but they definitely turned their world upside down. Reporting live from Linwood, Kansas, Chief Meteorologist Brian Busby. Cody and Donna, back to you.
Yeah, Brian, it's just devastating. We're almost running out of adjectives this morning. Both people I should say, on both sides of the state line are starting that process, a long one we know for sure, of cleaning up and figuring out what's next.
Our team coverage continues in Bonner Springs in just a few minutes, where many people are still just sifting through what's left as they see in First Light.
Welcome back. It is 6:16. Here's your forecast for today. We're dealing with a little fog this morning, but a partly cloudy sky this afternoon and 79 degrees and not terribly windy, which is important when you're out trying to clean up after a tornado. Later tonight, there will be some thunderstorms mainly on our Missouri side. Let me show you where. Anywhere from Lee Summit over towards Odessa, Warrensburg, Marshall, and Sedalia. We do have a risk in this area for straight line winds and perhaps some hail. The tornado risk is not 0, but it's low.
Okay, thank you. Last night's largest tornado dealt some serious damage to neighborhoods, especially in Bonner Springs.
Yeah, KMBC 9's Kelly Gibbs is live there this morning to show us what people are waking up to. That's assuming, Kelly, they got any rest at all. That's right, Donna. And this morning we are next to Bear Lake. This is some of the most significant damage we've seen to homes in this area. You can see the roof ripped almost completely from this home, and part of it is actually on the ground here. You can see the lights that have been ripped from the roof as well. It appears the garage was destroyed. This neighborhood at 161st, we've seen down branches, down trees, garage doors and siding ripped from homes. A lot of the houses also appear to be without power. Some homes
truly, though, look untouched. It's incredible when you take a look at this yard and you see all the debris scattered, the car damaged, and you can see obviously significant damage to the house as well. No word yet on any injuries here in this Bear Lake community, but as the sun starts to rise, we are getting a better look at the scope of this damage. We'll be bringing you the very latest as soon as we receive it. Cody, Donna, back to you.
Okay, Kelly, thank you. Here's a look at some of the damage in Lawrence from above. In fact, these are drone pictures sent to us from a viewer, Marcy Lucian, from a neighborhood on North 1000 Road.
It really gives you just another view at the devastation. The tornado was first reported in Overbrook, Kansas. It moved from there northeast toward Lawrence, hitting the south side of the city. And the storm ripped roofs off of homes. Again, though, no reports of any serious injuries. So grateful that we can say that this morning. Now, that tornado was so large that damage has shown up in communities that weren't in the storm's path at all. I want to show you this. This is from Jane Smith in Edgerton, Missouri. Okay, debris fell from the sky. You can see items carried and just dropped off near her home. Again, all these personal effects, but we're talking a distance of 40 miles.
Right.
The nature of a tornado is to converge the debris. It converges it and then it sends it out the top. When it comes out the top, the winds there were blowing about 70 to 90 miles an hour from the storm towards Smithville.
Picks it up then.
Just blew it straight up there, and we could see that happening on our Doppler products last night.
Amazing.
Here's the tracks preliminary. This is just me looking at the radar and just trying to hand draw this for you. The National Weather Service will give us an official track, and during the track of the tornado, they will tell us what EF scale it was. It was definitely strongest in Douglas County as it crossed into southern Leavenworth County. That segment of the storm was when it was its strongest, but it did start down near Osage City. Then it weakened almost like it hit a bubble when it hit 435. The storm weakened, but the supercell continued to kind of spin violently, but above the ground when it crossed over Parkville, and then it came down again in the form of two tornadoes that Nick Bender was one of the first to spot and call the tornado warning on, just over Excelsior Springs and Excelsior Estates. Once it moved into Ray County, they both dissipated, but we'll get the official report from the National Weather Service when they go out and do that storm damage survey at first light now throughout this afternoon. Here we are now. Temperatures are in the mid 60s and lower 70s. Lee Summit showing 70, 68 degrees in Olathe this morning. Thankfully, the winds are calm now, and I suspect that they will stay on the calm side throughout the day, maybe about 10 miles an hour coming from the west. Later today, now this is 4:30, and you'll notice that there are some thunderstorms popping up. We're on the northern periphery of a much stronger storm system that has the tornado risk with it in Oklahoma, maybe even parts of Arkansas, but we're just on the northern fringe of this. We can't let our guard down completely. We are under a slight risk, and under that slight risk, there's a small chance for tornadoes, but these storms look more to be the type that would produce strong straight line winds or hail when they come through. This is the outlook area. It ranges from marginal to slight from Lee Summit over to Sedalia. Flash flooding is going to be our biggest concern. Tornado risk is low, damaging wind and hail a possibility. The timing of that is after 4:30, mainly to our south. Here's a look at your forecast. Back to you.
Okay, Katie, thank you. This morning we are hearing from the people, the survivors, the families forced to run for cover as a massive tornado ripped through Douglas County.
Many are now facing an uphill battle as they work to figure out what's left and what's next when it comes to moving forward. Why one woman says she knows it could have been so much worse. It's 6:21 right now.
We're coming up on 6:25. Today there is a risk of tornadoes in Texas, parts of Oklahoma and western Arkansas, even a lower risk of tornadoes in southern Missouri today. In the Kansas City viewing area, we do have a slight risk of storms. Our primary risk will be for straight line winds and hail when this line comes through, and they'll start coming in around 4:30 this afternoon, mostly on the Missouri side, and then the next chance of rain is on Saturday.
All right. Thank you, Katie. Now we have more video that we want to show you. This is of damage in Douglas County.
Tuesday's massive tornado ripped the second story from this home in South Lawrence. Belongings are now scattered across the lawn, and as we've seen, probably miles away too. People who live there were able to get out safely and seek shelter. They say safety alerts let them get ahead of the storm.
And thankful it didn't hit like in the middle of the night, you know, when you're asleep. This happened during the daytime where we could see the TV and we're not asleep. You know, what if this happened in the middle of the night? We wouldn't be here.
Well, the family hopped into their truck. They went to a parking garage for shelter, and you can see they made it. And this is what they found last night when they returned home to see the damage. Well, a trail of heartbreak this morning stretching across the state line.
The tornadoes rip homes apart and change some lives forever. We are going to take a closer look at the devastation in Clay County, Missouri this morning.
Now, those storms, they also left thousands of people in the dark overnight. Rob Hughes is here and keeping a close eye on power outages across the area and crews who are rushing to get your lights turned back on. It is 6:26.
KMBC 9 News starts with First Alert Weather.
We are watching the city of Linwood be attacked by this huge tornado.
I could hear it was over us, and I saw my bedroom just leave.
A tornado nearly a mile wide wrecks everything in its path as it tears through Kansas and Missouri. Debris tossed thousands of feet in the air lands in communities more than 40 miles away, even shutting down the Kansas City airport. This morning, help is on the way from the metro as people work to pick up the pieces.
We're all fine physically, mentally, we're struggling, but it'll all come together with all the friends and family and help and love and support that we've been shown already, so it'll be okay.
And we know that it will be okay. It's going to take some time. This morning, the threat is over, but the heartbreak just beginning for so many.
Last night, dangerous storms tore through much of our area, leaving extensive damage in their wake. One massive tornado started just a little west of Lawrence. The tornado carved a path, and the storm system did, into Kansas, lifted. Another tornado dropped near Clay County, Missouri. Thankfully, we aren't hearing any reports of deaths this morning, but we do know that several people are injured. Thank you for joining us for our special coverage this morning. I'm Cody Holyoke.
Good morning. I'm Donna Pittman, and we do have our crews spread out across the metro this morning as daylight is giving us our first look at just how extensive this damage truly is.
Right. We want to start with Chief Meteorologist Brian Busby, who's on the ground in Linwood. Brian, we know that you were in the studio covering this as it was ripping through the landscape. What are you seeing there this morning?
What I'm seeing is just the finger is from the movie Twister, where they talk about the finger of God, if you will, and you can just see the devastation that's out there. Just within the last few minutes or so, some folks, possibly residents, are trying to at least look through what was their life, what was their maybe life savings, now turned upside down. They're still trying to survey it, probably their first opportunity to do just that. There's the house, at least here, not saying that's the owners that are looking right there, but as you notice, a couple of the exposed bedrooms are there on the end of the house, but at least the front of the house is still there, the back edge not so much. Our car is out, which must have been the carport itself. But I also want to swing over across the street if we can, because there's a car on its side in the front yard. I think you can probably see the undercarriage there. That's the charcoal color. And then almost like a butter knife, where you see the front entryway, which is probably majestic at one time, and then you can see a red car in what was probably the garage, and in between, almost where the tornado kind of mashed down like a thumb and took out that middle part of the house. And there seems to be another structure of some sort, because I see insulation on the other side of the folks who just pulled up here in the white pickup with the trailer. But in between, you can definitely see another structure that's on that property. So any way you look, whether you're looking on either side, we're on K32 in Linwood, Kansas, and I can just do a 360 and see devastation. We're talking huge mature trees. We're talking many houses like this that are just, once again, not necessarily ripped to their foundation, but to see all the damage, it had to be a wind consistent of probably triple digits. I would not be surprised if we saw 100-mile winds from this tornado. That at least, I guess the good news is the fact that folks here in Linwood had at least a 20-minute head start. We gave that first alert out for the tornado when we first picked it up in Osage County. And so when it finally dropped here, people knew what to do, and I'm still talking to and trying to gather information. I've not heard of any fatalities, maybe some injuries per se, but that's miraculous when you start to see exactly how much devastation and destruction is just in this community, many across our area. probably suffering similar losses.
Well,
Reporting from Linwood, Kansas, Chief Meteorologist. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Donna.
Well, Brian, no, the fact that we can say no reports of lives lost, you're right, it is a miracle, but it's also a testament to those early warnings and the work that you and the weather team did here last night. Personal question for you, Brian, I've known you for a long time. What was going through your mind 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock last night when this was really ramping up?
When it was really ramping up, it was obvious to me that although it didn't develop, they were going to develop pretty rapidly. So once the cap had broken and once the ingredients came together along that warm front, that it was probably going to be bad. It wasn't going to be your one-in-the-mill sort of hopscotch tornado that would dip down for a few seconds and then go back in the clouds and we never hear from it again. We knew that there was a possibility with all the ingredients coming together for a long tracking tornado, and that's exactly what we were tracking. Didn't stay on the ground maybe all 3 hours, but certainly you can tell the path where it did stay down, mashed into the ground, went back up, and then went to the next community. And I will tell you, it was difficult to talk and try to keep your focus. And especially as it got closer to Kansas City, where, you know, most of us live since we're in the Kansas City metro. Since I knew a lot of those landmarks, it was so difficult sometimes for me to be in front of you and say, I know exactly where that intersection is, I know exactly where that landmark is. And then to come out here the next morning and see it with the daylight, Donna, it is just sobering, for lack of a better word.
It really is, Brian. Thank you very much. We know National Weather Service crews will be out right now just trying to figure out, put a number on the scope of the damage we're seeing. You've seen this video throughout the night and the morning. It's just haunting. News Chopper 9's Johnny Rowlands was over the tornado, near the tornado as it hit Linwood and Lawrence last night, really helping with that first alert, as you were saying, from the weather team to those people in the storm's path to keep them safe.
Yeah, and Johnny, we know you can't fly right now. It's too cloudy, but you're on the phone with us. I want to know what was going through your mind last night. Not your first tornado, by far, we know that, but you know, this took me last night back to 2003.
Well, I have to tell you that because it was May 8th, 2003, when we had the tornado go through the southwest part of Lawrence and hit an apartment complex there. But I think, if anything, the storm structure was so foreign to what we had covered before. I spent a lot of time trying to sort through how in the world we were going to describe this and be able to show it. Of course, my job and what we can do with the helicopter is validate all these warnings. And to be able to say, there it is, and this is the real deal, take cover. I think that, you know, given that there are a lot of radar-indicated tornadoes anymore, and they have to issue a tornado warning for that with a storm that could produce a tornado, when you can show it and really let people know, wow, this is something that we're going to, you know, I mean, this is, again, the real deal. There you go. But I think that the probably the most troubling part of it was that it was rain-wrapped, really hard to see. And, you know, we know a lot of people stand out on the front porch these days with the phone trying to pick it up and see what's going on. And with those that you can see from a pretty far distance, I get it. But, boy, when it's rain-wrapped like that and you don't know it, you can't see it until it's right on top of you, yeah, it's a different story. So I felt very blessed that I could be out there showing what this tornado was doing, and it was really there, hopefully, to help people see that and take the appropriate action, which appears to have happened.
Well, Johnny, I think it saved lives yesterday, and so we thank you for your work that you did to get that first alert, and we know that as soon as the clouds clear, rest assured you'll be back up to show people just the scope of the damage. Johnny Rowlands, thank you for joining us this morning. There are some long, hard days ahead for many of the people in the tornado's path. That includes folks in Linwood, Kansas.
Now, Linwood was one of the hardest hit areas. KMBC 9's Matt Evans is there this morning as the people start the process. I can't even imagine, Matt, how you do that, but the process of sorting through what's left and moving forward.
Well, unfortunately, there is almost nothing left here at Free State Growers, a 15,000 square foot greenhouse here in Linwood, Kansas. And to give you an idea of the scope and the power of this storm, planters and pots kind of like these that are strewn about all over here were picked up tens of thousands of feet into the air last night and taken. They were found at KCI Airport. They were also found in Smithville, Missouri, across state line. more than 50 miles away from where we stand right now. When you take a look at the devastation, it is just that, devastating. This was once again a 15,000 square foot greenhouse, one of the largest in our area, one of the largest in the Midwest, that has been in Linwood for decades. And now we talked to one employee earlier who says they don't know if they can even start over and pick up from this. How do you rebuild when there is almost nothing left? We can also show you the path that this tornado took. Just to the northeast of here, you can see a clear path from these trees, and this is something that I have not seen. Bark just sheared off on some of these trees, some of the smaller trees. The bark is just gone. You can see the debris as it goes north and east, and a lot of that debris thrown tens of thousands of feet into the air, carried for miles and miles away. Again, a true testament to how powerful this storm was, how long-lasting this storm was, and how truly destructive this storm was. We have been on the phone with Leavenworth County deputies this morning. They tell us minor injuries reported in Leavenworth County, where Linwood is. Also, they believe everyone is accounted for. No active search and rescue operations underway in Leavenworth County this morning, which is truly amazing news we can pass along when you take a look at the scope of all this destruction. Live in Linwood this morning, Matt Evans, KMBC 9 News.
And Matt, it really, really is such a thing to be grateful for. Now, Matt saying everyone accounted for in Leavenworth County. Well, here's one of the reasons. The KCK Fire Department sent a live dog named Zoom. There's Zoom to the right to Linwood. Zoom helped first responders find anyone alive and trapped in the rubble. That's why they call him a live dog. This morning, again, we've learned everyone in Linwood is accounted for. So, sigh of relief there.
It really, really is. And this whole storm really took shape as it approached Osage City. Osage County moved into Douglas County and Lawrence. We know that a number of homes were destroyed on the south side of Lawrence. KMBC 9's Martin Augustine is live there this morning to give us a closer look. Martin, what do you see?
Well, Cody, we're right in the path that the storm took last night. Take a look back here across a road called 1100 Road. You can see the twisted and splintering of that wooded area right there. But as we pan our camera around, the tree damage gets heavier, and then back beyond those trees there's a home without a roof, heavily damaged, and now you can really see the damage starting to pick up as we spin around. And as we continue to show you this tree damage, we will reveal to you a home right over here that took the brunt of that storm. Heavy damage here too. We're saying it over and over again. These folks, if they weren't gone from their home and had risked coming out of their storm shelter, they would have seen the tornado coming up right at them, which would have been a frightening thing. It would have been frightening just to be in a safe room inside there, to hear that storm tearing off the roof of that house. And there is damage similar to this kind of down the hill behind that home. This is right where we first started to pay attention to this tornado, where we understood that this was indeed a devastating tornado, and the damage left behind certainly confirms that. Reporting live south of Lawrence, Martin Augustine, KMBC 9 News.
Oh my goodness, just so much damage. Martin, thank you. We know that last night's storm, of course, took out those houses, but it also knocked out power to thousands of customers in its path. Crews right now are working to bring everybody back online.
And Rob Hughes is tracking that process this morning. They are making some progress, Rob.
They really are, Cody and Donna. They've been working, of course, around the clock. Right now, we are tracking just over 40 active outages in the affected areas. Now, let's take a look at the live map right now. Those shaded areas you see right there, those are the affected areas. You'll see those circles with multiple colors. Now, those are multiple outages in that area. Now, just under 4,000 powers do not have power right now. However, that's down from just under 5,000 when we started our show around 4:30 this morning. The vast majority of those outages, of course, in Lawrence, also outages in Pleasant Grove, Linwood, and Bonner Springs areas. Westar is reporting longer than normal restoration times in those areas, but again, they are working as fast as possible.
Okay. All right, Rob, thank you. One of the things that so many of us who've been around for a while couldn't help but think is how similar this storm last night was to what we saw years ago in 2003.
That's right, and Katie has actually put them side by side for us, and you said there's some eerie similarities.
Parallel tracks, if not crossing tracks. This was me just eyeballing it from the storm reports we had in 2003. I covered that tornado for you, and we were covering this tornado last night for you. One thing that's interesting, this blue track is the 2003 tornado. This yellow track is the one from last last night, but that's when our tornado was lifting and we just kind of had the supercell spinning over Parkville, and then it reproduced perhaps 2 tornadoes over by Excelsior Springs. So though that tornado had lifted, it was following the same path as the 03 tornado, very, very close. That's the one that started out by the old racetrack and then moved up towards Carriage Hills and then over towards Liberty. Thankfully, we're looking at this as a quiet weather pattern right now. I do want to let you know, and another product that we had, I do want to show you this as well. This was the damage we were showing you last night while the tornado was occurring. We had reports of the debris landing 20 miles away because it got sucked up into very strong winds that were blowing aloft from the southwest to the northeast. So much we could talk about, Donna. I could just go on, but right now it's just good to know everything is quiet.
And it's good to know everything is quiet, but that everyone is okay. You know, we do have minor injuries, so we don't want to minimize that.
Sure.
But the fact that we are not talking about the loss of life,
that it's not worse, it's remarkable.
It's remarkable and just, yeah. All right, well, last night, of course, we had a very short break from tornado warnings after the tornado lifted as it entered the metro.
Right, but KMBC 9 First Alert meteorologist Nick Bender continued tracking the storm into Clay County. He was there as the supercell sort of regained strength and another tornado touchdown. This is the view from the tornado near the Mosby area as it continued its path of destruction. You hear the sirens there in the background and see the lightning and power flashes. This morning, we're seeing just how much damage was done in Clay County.
Yeah, let's go live right now to KMBC 9's Emily Welsh, who is in Excelsior Springs with a look at that damage. And Emily, one of the things I couldn't help but think about is that in Excelsior, I don't know if you can hear us, Emily, but one of the things I couldn't help but think about is in Excelsior, there are so many older homes, older structures.
Yes, certainly. So I believe one of the owners of the home was driving by. I mean, they've been here on the property assessing the damage, and it certainly is an older structure. You can see behind me, we're on Washington School Road right now, and that home, it was an older brick structure. So you can see where a lot of the bricks have just, I mean, this house was pummeled, and you can see kind of the big stone chimney there that is still standing, and you can see even from this vantage point, although we are far away, the rooms exposed. You can see how just it even looks like one of those walls, brick walls, kind of collapsed in. There are still some people on the property still just looking at the damage, assessing it, and you can see the debris scattered all over this huge yard right here, and a lot of trees knocked down. We also, if we'll move over kind of to the left here, you can see a huge piece of metal, which looks like siding, but we actually figured out that we think it came from right across the street. And right across the street, you'll see here, I'm going to make sure no other cars are coming, we're good, but you see the shingles from the roof of the house came off a little bit, but the house largely untouched other than that. But behind it is where all these huge pieces of metal are coming. It was just sheared off by that tornado, kind of that big outbuilding in the backyard there. So you're getting just a taste of the damage. There are a couple other houses in this area also that were untouched. I was speaking to the young man earlier today who told me he grew up in that house that was directly hit by the tornado. His parents were home in the basement in a closet. They amazingly stayed safe, but he said that he still just can't wrap his head around this. You know, he drove here about 2.5 hours overnight from his job in Iowa, and he just said that he can't believe what he's seeing. You know, so many memories growing up here, and now to see his childhood home destroyed, it's certainly an emotional time, you know, for anyone who's gone through any sort of damage, especially losing a home like this. But again, the good thing he said is that nobody was hurt. His parents are still okay, and they'll be able to rebuild, move on. That's all that matters. Reporting live in Excelsior Springs, Emily Welsh, KMBC 9 News.
Yeah, Emily, I can't imagine how so many people are feeling with so many memories now just gone. Okay, well, we watched the storm march across the area all evening, and now we're seeing the damage in Bonner Springs. That's where KMBC 9's Kelly Gibbs is this morning. A similar sad scene there, Kelly.
That's right, Donna. And this morning we are checking in with the residents. This is Michael Murphy. He survived the storm. You ran downstairs, you said. And can you just describe what you saw and what you heard? I'm happy your home's okay.
Well, Diana was already downstairs in the basement, and I was out looking out the window to see, and it started coming across the lake, and I could see, you know, it was getting real dark, and then the wind picked up, so I ran downstairs. And then once I got to the door to the basement, we shut the door. The power went off, and we've got a sofa down there in the storm shelter, basically. And we were sitting there, and we could hear everything smacking against the house, and Then water started to come in. We don't know from where. It just was coming in, and it was loud. But
how did you feel in that moment? I mean, that is very intense. And as you can see, from his yard, not much damage to your home, which is fantastic news. But I'm sure inside that there's more. Just do you mind describing those moments that you were in the basement and then the water comes in?
Well, the water, didn't know where it was coming from. You don't know if you got a roof because you don't know really where the water was coming from because you're kind of getting rained on and you're going, well, I hope the top layer stays so we don't get sucked out of here. But it was probably 3 or 4 minutes, and then from there we came back out and opened up the doors and saw this. And
time to clean up now.
Time to clean up. If anybody needs free firewood, we've got plenty.
Thank you so much, Michael. Thank you, and you have a great attitude. Really appreciate you taking a minute with us this morning.
No problem.
And Katie, we'll toss it back to you.
Thank you. We are already tracking another round of thunderstorms that will arrive later this afternoon. I'll show you what threats you can expect with this round of thunderstorms. Plus, we'll take a look at your weekend forecast after the break.
Well, there were certainly some tense moments last night as that large tornado headed toward the Legends and the Kansas Speedway.
We want to show you this. A viewer sent us this video out near the Legends as the storm approached. Thankfully, they were far enough away from this. The tornado lifted up and the area wasn't damaged. But yeah, it was just a crazy, crazy amount of people in that area because you have the outlets. It's right around dinner time. So thankfully, no injuries are being reported there.
That is the bottom of the most important thing that we need to say, how few injuries there were with how many people lost homes and businesses, and that no deaths have been reported. Today we are watching Texas, eastern Oklahoma, western Arkansas. They're under the gun for the type of weather we had last night. They have that medium tornado risk. We do not have a significant tornado risk within our viewing area today, thankfully, but it's not zero. We still have a slight risk of severe weather from Sedalia down to Cole Camp, Lake of the Ozarks, east of Clinton, but eastern Henry County is that area that's seeing the slight risk for tonight. West of that is a marginal risk that comes all the way up to about Lone Jack, includes Warrensburg and Sedalia, Belton and Butler, and in our northern communities up towards Chillicothe. This is what it looks like on Future Scan. At 4:30, this is indicating the thunderstorms start rotating up into our southern counties on the Missouri side. By 7, they start to cross the Missouri River, and then they move away, and we should have a quiet night after that. Cold front comes through, which sets us up for really nice weather tomorrow. But unfortunately, we have to deal with the threat of damaging wind and hail specifically for those storms that form to our south. Here's our forecast for today. The high will hit 79 degrees. Our thunderstorms are mainly on the Missouri side and come in after 4 o'clock.
All right, and that's good to know, Katie, as we look ahead to the day. We are also looking at all of the aftermath left behind by these devastating storms. Live video from Bonner Springs right now. Kelly Gibbs on the ground with our news crews. We're back in less than 3 minutes. Right now, people from Douglas County, Kansas to Clay County, Missouri are waking up to a real-life nightmare. A large, dangerous tornado carved a path of destruction that spanned miles upon miles. The same storm cell dropped a tornado across the state line in Missouri.
And as the sun comes up, we are seeing just how much damage these storms did. We will have live team coverage, continued coverage on First News as we move on to KCWE.
Today, there's a risk of severe weather after 4 o'clock for the area to our south and east. We will track these for you. Large hail, straight line winds, the primary threat. Another round of thunderstorms on Saturday.
All right. Well, Katie, thank you. And thanks for everything that you all did last night to keep us safe. Have a good day.
Coverage continues throughout the day.